In the real world, whether it be natural or artificial, things are related. For example, people have families. Families are composed of one or multiple people. Parents have children. Businesses have customers, and customers buy from businesses. Everything is related, and relations can also be implemented in building digital systems, whether it be in Notion, in Coda, in Airtable, or in a more advanced database management tool. There are different objects, and those objects can have relations. In the knowledge management ecosystem, projects can have multiple tasks. Clients can have multiple projects for an agency, for example. So in this video, we are exploring exactly what are relations and rollups in the context of Notion, and what is the concept behind them, and how you can implement them within Notion itself. And if you understand this, how to implement relations and rollups within Notion, you will also understand how to implement them in other similar tools such as Airtable or Coda, or any tool where you can build tables that have relational capabilities. The first step of defining relations and rollups in a digital systems that you might build in Notion can be made clearer if you draw up exactly what is the structure of your system that you're trying to build. And here, let's look at an example in a tool called Whimsical, that is a flow charting tool. And there is one template here that you can use as a starting point that is called the entity relationship diagram. And the idea behind this is that you can use this flowchart to exactly define what are the relationships between multiple entities in a database. Because in database management, a database is composed of multiple entities or tables, and each entity can be related to other entities, that is, in a relational database ecosystem, which for simplification's sake, we consider Notion to be. So if I use this template here, you can see that there is an explanation, and really you can see that each entity is a table like this, where you can define what fields are there, and you can then see that each entity can have one or multiple relations to other entities. So if you think of entity A as projects and entity B as tasks, entity A can have a one-to-many relation with tasks. And if you look at the key here, you will understand that this type of arrow used in this template means that each project or each entity A item can be related to multiple, and that's what this arrow shape means here, entity B items or tasks in our example. And each entity can then be related to multiple different tables or databases in Notion speech. And that's how you can, in a simple way, take a high-level view of the system that you're building, defining all the tables that you want to include in it, or the entities, and then draw up exactly what are the relations among those. And that's for the relation side of things. When it comes to rollups, rollups are just a byproduct of relations within Notion, because rollups are a way to look up information from a related table. So let's get into a Notion database and explain exactly, practically speaking, how to implement relations and rollups and how to think about them. Here is a projects database. This is from the Notion projects template that they recently released. I also filmed a video on the channel recently. And let's take this database as an example, and let's keep that example of projects and tasks. We know that in knowledge management, a project can have multiple tasks, and each task can be assigned to multiple people if you are in a team, or they will all be assigned to you if you are using a person system. And you will see here that if we want to create a relation property, we are in the projects database, and we know that one project can have one or multiple tasks. So I'm going to create a new property, and the type of property will be relation. And in here, Notion is asking me, what database do you want to relate projects to? In my case, that is the tasks database. And you can also search it here in case you don't find it directly on that quick list. Once you select the task database, you can define the name of the property here. You can see in this database we already have one property named tasks. That's why we just named this task1 for this example only. Usually you will name it like the entity that you are relating it to, or the database in Notion. Next up, you can select a limit for this relation, because from a project page, do you want to have the ability to select multiple tasks, or do you want to limit it to one task only? And in this case, no limit is the way to go. And that would be a one-to-many relation between projects and tasks. And that's because, as we said, each project can have multiple tasks. So we do not want to implement any limitation at the project level. Next up, we can toggle these on to turn this relation property into a two-way relation, meaning this relation property will display in the project database and also in the tasks database. That's a two-way relation. If we keep these off, that means that the tasks1 property will only display on the project database and not on the tasks database. However, in this example, we do want people to have the ability to select a project from a task page, and that's why we want to turn this on. And we can also select then, what do you want the related property in the tasks database to be named? In our case, we can call it project singular, because each task can only have one project or maybe no project. So we add the relation property. You will see here from this quick preview that it's a two-way relation from the arrows going both ways, projects to tasks and tasks to project. And you can see here, this is a drop-down menu of sorts, where you can see all the content from tasks and quickly select one or multiple pages from the tasks database. And if we go to the tasks database now, you will see there is also a related property that was just created called project1. And here again, that's only because we already have a project property here, and that's why it's called project1. When you click on it, if you go to edit property, you will see the exact same thing or menu that we saw earlier. This time we know that this property is related to the project database. There is no limit currently, although I would say it might be smart to implement a one-page limit, so that here I can only select one project and nothing more. If I want to add a new project, I can only replace the existing one and not add multiple projects from here. And those are relations in Notion. Sometimes you might want to pull data from a related page to understand a specific information about that related page. So here is a task page. We know that one task can be linked to a project, and I want to know from the task page directly what's the status of that project, so that I do not necessarily need to open the project page again to see that. And this is possible via a rollup property, just like this one here. To add a rollup property, you can add a new property in the target database. The type of property will be rollup, and you can call it, for example, project status. In this case, that's what we are looking up. And then we need to select what's the source relation property that you want to get the data from. In our case, that's going to be project1. And what property do we want to pull from that database? In our case, that is the status. And finally, what calculation we want to make on that property. For example, we might show the % per group complete if you want a progress bar. Or we might simply show the original value of that property, which in our case would be in progress or not started, depending on the project that we select here. So the project content test, long form, has a status of planning, as we can see here. And indeed, if I click on that project, I will see that the status is planning. So using Rollups, I could pull any property from this related page on another database to display it dynamically without the ability to change it, however. only to see it, and with the ability to then filter based on that property also on the target database, in this case, the task database, where I could use the project status property as a filter. And that is it for relations and rollups in Notion, and at a higher level in any other tool that allows you to build relational tables, which could be Coda, Airtable, or similar. You can find related documentation in the description of this video. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to drop them down below in the comments, and I'm happy to interact with you. For now, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.